We're talking about the Minnesota Timberwolves. They are currently 6-6. Not off to a hot start. Yeah, appropriate. Coming off back-to-back losses to the Portland Trailblazers, who are a team a lot of people did not have any faith in to be, one, competitive this year, two, let alone two, like beating a team that was labeled as a contender, coming off a Western Conference Finals appearance where they were a little gassed out, but still won a game. People forget that. Obviously, a lot has happened. There was a big trade right before the season started. Not just a big trade, but once again, the Timberwolves were involved in one of the biggest trades in the offseason. And so far, it's looking like the team is having a hard time handling the transition. I think there's a lot of reasons why we are where we are, but the biggest reason is, we got almost a whole new team. A lot of the glue guys are gone from last season. No Kyle Anderson. That's been tough. So just like it's been a rocky start. But I want to hear from you guys. I would love to know, like, based on what you've seen, what you've watched, what do you think, like, is the reason for this, like, slow, awkward, clunky start that the Wolves have had? Because there's been some glimmers of good stuff, been some glimmers of great stuff, but a lot of glimmers of bad stuff, turning the ball over.
Honestly, I think a lot of it has to do with the timing of the Cat trade. It was at the very end or trail end of the offseason.
They were already in training. They were already in preseason training,
So at that point, it's like, okay, he's gone. He's one of the biggest leaders on the team. Was he not the longest tenured player on the Wolves at that point?
At that point, since I don't know,
by a long shot too,
Ricky
right?
Rubio, maybe, it was the last time,
So then it's like, all right, so one of your main leaders is gone.
Face of the franchise.
Turn it over. Yeah, basically. And it's right before the season starts. I think it's going to take a lot of time for them to figure out the chemistry, figure out their identity, I guess, if that makes sense. And obviously we want Ant, and everybody wants Ant to be that face of the franchise. He already is. But, to put the team really on his shoulders, where you had two guys doing it before, and now one of those is gone. And we didn't like the trade at the beginning. I mean, it makes sense. Though that it was honestly, it still looks like an even trade because we got a lot of ball left. But
and the Knicks aren't necessarily winning either. Like, Cat's playing well, but they're not winning like people were expecting them to.
They're probably dealing with the exact same thing, honestly.
For
sure.
I
think it's just gonna have to do with time. I think time is gonna heal the wounds, I guess, if that makes sense. But that's what I'm thinking.
Yeah, I'll echo that. I think by far the biggest reason for why this team has started off how they started off is just chemistry. You bring in, these two new players for Cat, and Randall was supposed to fit in at the number 2 spot, and I at first did not like his play. He's grown on me. I think actually in this little Blazers series, I know he made mistakes, and there were definitely moments where I was frustrated, but I think he showed up better than a lot of the other players at times. But it's just tough because on paper or with stats and analytics, you can go, okay, these numbers look the same. He plays the same type of role. We can fit, but that's not a substitute for actual play, being on the court, the actual practice and just chemistry that players develop over time. When Cat left, it wasn't just everyone said that he left because he was a good player. After he left, there were so many things on the Timberwolves subreddit and in the news, just about his impact in the community, the friendships. So you take a player like that out of the team and bring in new players. Yeah, the chemistry just on the court's going to take some time, but you kind of take out a little bit of the fire, a little bit of the soul of the team too by doing that. So look, I know we initially did it to save some money, essentially in the long run, just kind of work with our cap issues, but to me, it's a frustrating move because I'm looking at a team that has shown really good poise, really good chemistry. They made it to the Western Conference Finals. Forget about the money for a minute. Run it back one more year. Let's try and run it back. And they chose a different route. And I know they have their reasons, but without a doubt, the reason is the chemistry and the new players. And I just also think bag skate. I think we just need to make these guys have a little more urgency because some of these dudes have been playing really lazy at times. I've seen some really, really bad unforced errors, right? Just throwing away the ball, just throwing it away. Like the first game of the Blazers series, there's just an inbound pass. It was just a miscommunication, but it's like, oh my gosh, take a moment, look for the open man. But I digress. I think they'll turn it around. I think he's right. Time will heal these wounds, but man, it's just a big shakeup for this team. So
yeah, no, I agree with everything you guys said. Last night especially, but like both these games from the Blazers series, it's just been like some of the most frustrating basketball I've watched them play since Chris Finch took over. And a reminder, when Chris Finch took over, we were not very good. Like, it did take us time to grow from there, but there's I don't know if it's necessarily like the Randall and Devo integration that's causing the issues, but they just look so unmotivated and uninspired. Like you're talking about, the turnovers have always been a problem for us. But it's like one of those things that they always talk about, like, we're working on getting better. You watched in the playoffs, had a couple games where turnovers lost us games, in that Dallas series especially. And then you come back and you play a team that not necessarily is not talented, but is not as experienced as you. And you let them fucking run you out of the gym back-to-back nights. Last night was a little bit closer up until the end, but last night's game was exactly what was not happening last year. Like, down the stretch, giving up important plays, not clamping down on defense, like just doing everything the opposite way. We were so excited last season the way it started because we were beating these really good teams, and our schedule hasn't necessarily been easy to start so far, but when you get a back-to-back Portland series, you have to come out with one of those,
Yeah.
And even Grady and Jim Pete were talking about this on the broadcast. It's like, especially a younger team with a chip on its shoulder coming in, like, we're playing Anthony Edwards, who's like the face of the league. He's Michael Jordan. Oh, they just came off a Western Conference Finals appearance. Like, let's show them what we got. And the Wolves need to understand that and come with the same energy. Like, they're trying to obviously we're in we're in Portland, but it still felt like one of those situations where Portland's like, we're gonna come into your trap, we're gonna take over your trap. And you just can't let a team do that to you, especially if you're trying to be contenders. So I'm just frustrated, and I do think these are issues that can be resolved eventually, but like you said, Cole, like, you're watching things happen. You got half the screen is being recorded on your TV, and you can just tell there's fucking guys on the other side of the court with their fucking thumb up their butt, sitting there waiting for something to happen instead of, when a turnover happens, sprinting back. Like last night that happened where a turnover happened. Rudy got the stop on a 3-on-1 fast break, and no one ran back with Rudy. So then the Blazers just rebounded, put it right back up. So it's just stuff like that. Not making the hustle plays. It's starting to, I think, really affect the confidence of the team. So hopefully,
a lot of mental, yeah.
Yeah, hopefully they'll be able to overcome it because the talent's there. And let's not even talk about the shooting percentage of the last two games. Atrocious.
Yeah.
I've never seen a rim so small for a team, man. Like, could not buy a bucket. So
Was it 17.9%?
17 from three? Yeah.
From three.
And this is a team that's been trying to identify themselves as a three-point shooting team. Big part of why we brought in Devo. He's also been, having a tough time. He had a couple good games to start, but he's been having a tough time.
Surprising to see.
Yeah, and again,
he'll get it though.
We're 12 games in. Yeah, we're 12
Honestly.
games in, but this is something that the trending of this needs to change. Otherwise, fans are going to start freaking out. I'm trying to remain calm about it, but wow, it is not easy.
Yeah, they're playing like they feel entitled to be a top team again. Like they're playing like they're like, oh, we'll be a top team, and that
We don't have
confidence
to
is
try.
important. Yeah, it's the confidence is encouraging, but not when your effort doesn't reflect it, right?
Mm-hmm.
So they're playing like they feel like they're a shoo-in already because, we made it to the Western Conference Finals. We're going to make it that far again and more. And it's like, this is a clean slate, dude. You got to, especially with new players.
Mm-hmm.
I guess the one encouraging thing is, like you said, our shooting percentage was really bad in the Blazers series and has been bad. And they also, dude,
Yeah, the Blazers shot over 50% from three in the first game. Yeah. Unheard of.
I started laughing towards the. I was like, you just gotta laugh. I mean, they kept draining these threes, high contested threes.
Yeah.
Players that don't shoot threes were making threes, and I'm like, oh god.
Almost three buzzer beaters in that game. First quarter,
Yeah.
almost second quarter, third quarter. Like, come on.
Yeah, so we'll see. I think there's time. Well, there is time, and I think they can turn it around. But we need urgency for sure with these guys.
Yep. Ticking clock, man. Mike Conley's, you're starting to see him regress a little bit too. Like, who knows how much longer we're going to have of.
I think it was his injury last year.
Yeah, well, I don't know. I have so many thoughts, but I don't want to spend forever on this. I do want to ask one more Wolves-related question, then move on to our final segment. Is that cool?
Okay.
Yeah, do it.
God, hurry up.
That's not a real mic.
It's not real, Mike.
No, that's a fake mic.
Yes, it is. This is real. They don't know it's fake.
Is it?